Welcome back. I'm on the Savannah River today in Savannah, Georgia. You'll see some boats going behind me. And today we're going to talk a little bit about political philosophy. And I'm going to begin by quoting something that Victor Hugo once said, this great philosopher and actually novelist. He said that no military can defeat an idea whose time has come. And by saying that, he was actually talking about the importance of political philosophy. How when an idea is ready to arrive, nothing can really destroy it. And so any revolution, when you think about it, is just that. The French Revolution was that. The American Revolution was that. And I'm in Savannah, Georgia, where they were part of the Civil War. Well, the ideas behind the Union Army, getting rid of slavery, union rights, those were ideas whose time had come, and therefore no armies could defeat that. And that is really the potency of political philosophy. Now, I was having a discussion with my friend Sanjay, who I've discussed before, PhD in chemistry, and thinks he understands everything about every subject, including finance. But one thing he doesn't understand, and we have this discussion all the time, is that he's vocationally trained, but he's not educated. Why is he not educated? Because he hasn't supplemented his training in chemistry with the humanities and liberal arts. And you basically need both. And the key to the liberal arts and humanities is it teaches you how to think. And how to think means taking a look, as I've said before, ad nauseum, taking a look at data points, assumptions, and conclusions. And so today I'm going to talk about one way to think about your own political philosophy, if you will. So in the case of Sanjay, he doesn't really know what he is. He voted for the Democrats. I'm a Libertarian, which means I'm neither a Republican nor a Democrat, and now he's starting to believe that he is a Libertarian. But I wanted to explain to you the thought process that got him there, and some of the ways to think about political philosophy and discover your own political philosophy so you understand your ideas and you can express those ideas through your voting. So there's two dimensions, actually, that I think are really important when it comes to evaluating a political establishment or a political entity. One is chaos versus order, where you stand on that. And the second is individual rights versus group rights, right? So the first example I'm going to use is Canada and the U.S. Now, as I'm taping this, Trump is claiming he wants to make Canada the 31st state. I don't think Canadians really are going for that. But he doesn't understand some real nuances when it comes to Canada and the U.S. And the basic nuance is that Canada was founded by Britain, and more importantly, they stayed with Britain. In fact, today, the Governor General of Canada, the head of state, is actually the Queen, or in this case, the King now. And in fact, he's going to be coming to, or going to Ottawa and giving the speech from the throne. So even today, Canada's underlying principles are British principles. And the thing about the Brits is they value order more than they value chaos. And the evidence of that, if you go to Ottawa. So go to Ottawa, you see all these people sitting around in the street corners, or standing around the street corners. And at first you wonder, what the hell are they doing? Well, why are they standing around the street corners? And the answer is, they are waiting for the light to change. So they are very orderly. Now you go to New York City and you're going to get yelled at if you're stopping because there's a stop sign for the pedestrians. I mean, they literally will yell at you like, what the hell are you doing? You're wasting my time. Get out of my way. Now, why is that? It's because in America, they value order less and chaos more. And the logic there is that it's through chaos that creativity happens, right? It's not a coincidence that out of the top 20 universities in the world by various metrics, as measured by various magazines and publications, 18 of the 20 are American, right? It's not a coincidence that disproportionately, almost 100% of Nobel Prize winners are American, right? So in America, you believe that chaos is important and order is less important. In Canada, you believe order is more important and chaos is less important. So when you evaluate a political philosophy, ask yourself, which is more important to me, order or chaos? And by chaos, I don't mean rioting on the street. I just mean the role of the individual and the freedom to kind of express yourself versus the emphasis on order of the society. So the second dimension is the individual versus the group. Now, one thing that Sanjay didn't understand is that libertarianism, as is talked about today, is really classical liberalism. So today's liberalism is really progressive, so-called progressive liberalism, right? So classical liberalism was economically conservative and socially liberal. But the key to that liberalism was it focused on the individual. The individual was the key denominator that the society was built around. It wasn't the group, right? So if you look at the American Constitution, influenced by the Enlightenment in Europe, it talks about the individual. Sorry about that. I'm going to have some ships in the background kind of disturbing us. All men are created equal, right? It didn't say all groups are created equal. It said all men are created equal. So there's an emphasis on the individual, right? Now, what happened after people like Adam Smith and Ricardo and the writer of Jean-Jacques Rousseau, who wrote this book called Emile, what happened after they wrote in the Enlightenment is you got sort of Marxism and the left-wing thought that developed much later, right? So in the mid-1800s, you had Marx, came out with Das Kapital, etc. And what Marx and the leftists say is that the unit of measure is not the individual, it's the group. Now in Marx's case, the group was economic group, the proletariat versus the capitalist, and the bourgeois, the middle class. But what we have in modern society is cultural Marxism. So now, with identity politics, the idea is that groups are more important than individuals, but the groups are not necessarily economic. The lenses are gender and race, for example, right? So are you part of the trans group? Are you black and brown? Are you part of some allegedly, self-perceivedly marginalized group? That's what's important. And so you have this conflict between classical liberalism, which is free market, competitive capitalism, personal responsibility, low taxes, small government, things like charity being in the private sphere. By taxing people less, you allow them to leave and bequeath in their endowments things for the civic good, versus big government, high taxation, protection of groups, right? And so that is the second dimension. The first was, as I described before, chaos versus order. The second is individual versus group. So where you fall within these two dimensions will determine your political philosophy. It will determine who you should vote for. It will determine what philosophy you want to articulate when you actually do vote. So how about you? Where do you fall on this? Order versus chaos. Are you more towards the chaos, more towards the order? What about individual versus group? Are you more towards the group or more towards the individual? Those questions will allow you to come up with answers. And in the case of Sanjay, what he's realizing is that he's for free market capitalism, lower taxes, smaller government, along with the individual rights like gay rights, women's rights, just individuals' rights. In other words, keep the government away from the rights of these individuals, even though they might form in groups. And on the chaos versus order, he's in the pharma industry, he recognizes the value of innovation, and he thinks that less regulation but no regulation is important. So he's come across my point of view of libertarianism, not that that's the right point of view, but I understand why I'm a libertarian. And now I think Sanjay understands why he's a libertarian. So it's something to think about. I'll see you next time.